Welcome to the Hojo on Architecture podcast, Video Game Architecture. Chapter 8, World Building of Warcraft. World of Warcraft, as one of the titles considered world-building epics, deserves to be studied in detail, especially in terms of the setting and the architecture. Warcraft is a franchise created by Blizzard Entertainment and consists of video games, novels, films, and other media. The first three installments were real-time strategy games. The fourth and best-selling title is a fully three-dimensional, also known as the third-person view, massively multiplayer online role-playing game called World of Warcraft, which was published in 2004. Unlike the previous games in which the players build structures and control armies, here the players create a single avatar and develop it by leveling up. World of Warcraft had been a major commercial success upon its original release and rapidly became the most popular MMORPG of all time. It is one of the highest grossing video games of all time with millions of subscribers. Since its launch, World of Warcraft has had 10 major expansion packs as of 2025. Each expansion enlarged the game universe by adding new playable races and new settings to be explored. The game is set in the high fantasy world called Azeroth. In the fantasy genre, the term high fantasy stands for epic settings, characters, and plot, whereas the low fantasy is used for the ordinary worlds that magical events intrude on. Blizzard Entertainment focuses on the narrative of Azeroth, together with polished gameplay, since the saying gameplay first is one of their core values. This attitude is accepted as the main reason for its worldwide success. Creators spend a vast amount of time crafting the setting, because they know that the players will develop a deep emotional connection to a game world that will keep them coming back again and again. In the original release, known as Vanilla in gaming terminology, Azeroth was divided into two main continents, Kalimdor in the west and the Eastern Kingdoms in the east. Later expansions enlarged the game map by introducing new continents and planets. Azeroth is actually not a big planet compared to the Earth. A study calculated the distance between the north and south tips of the Eastern Kingdom's continent as 13 kilometers. However, all the civilizations, creatures, and lots of magic can fit into this relatively small built world. The continents of Azeroth are divided into zones. Each zone boasts a uniquely rich variety of climate, flora, and fauna, along with a distinct in-game soundtrack. Zones represent biomes such as the marshes, wetlands, jungles, and highlands known in the real world. And there are urban spots in these zones occupied by the fictional races as well as the rural areas. There are smaller villages and towns as well as the greater capitals of each race. The key design principle behind Azeroth is enjoyment, not geographic or material realism. The overall setting was designed and optimized for gameplay, and its real-world resemblance is a secondary feature. World of Warcraft is a game in which all players try to develop their character via completing quests, fighting with monsters and each other as well, exploring Azeroth, and unlocking new skills, weapons, and armors. At the very beginning of the game, the player creates an avatar by choosing a race and a class. The fictional races include the Orc, Tauren, Troll, Human, Dwarf, Night Elf, Blood Elf, Pandaren, and others. A sample of game classes consists of the Druid, Hunter, Mage, Paladin, Priest, Rogue, Shaman, and Warrior. The race refers to the general appearance of the avatar, whereas the class is akin to a profession. For example, gaming mechanisms such as battling with magic or swords are shaped by these choices, and this dual choice shapes the gaming experience. All races are common in their anthropomorphically bipedal design. In other words, they are all humanoids. However, as well as their physical experience, they display a vast variety of their unique cultures, each designed in detail. Some of them come forward with the design of their distinct material culture. For example, the Orcs, also known from the Tolkien lore, are a muscular race with greenish skin and sharp teeth. It is known that their design has an evident Central Asian, Turkic, and Mongolic influence. Even the word horde, the faction Orcs lead, is from the Turkic term orda or ordu, meaning camp, headquarters, army, and tribe. They are displayed as somehow savage, bloodthirsty warriors. Shamanism is a widespread life practice for them. Therefore, their material culture identifies these uncivilized features. The Taurens, on the other hand, are bovine ungulate humanoids with massive horns. They look like the monster Minotaur from Greek mythology. However, their culture has references from the Northern American natives. They are organized in chiefdoms, dwell in teepees, and there are lots of totem poles around their settings. They also wear war bonnets, headgear decorated with feathers, and play drums. Another race, The trolls, who are also known from the European folklore, are differentiated by their massive and fierce tusks and bluish skin tone. Organized in tribes, the troll culture has Aztec, Maya, and Inca references. They also practice voodoo worship, which is known to the African people. Their settings are full of masks, similar to those found in African and Polynesian cultures. Their overall tribal culture can be considered as the Caribbean. Their architecture also shares features with the tropical real-world cultures. The humans of Warcraft wear armor and live in structures, both similar to the real-world medieval culture. The human settlements are generally in geometrical plans and of stone architecture. Fortresses, castles, and walls are common in their environments. The dwarves, on the other hand, are short and stubborn natives of Azeroth, with males having huge beards. They are somehow based on Tolkien's dwarf culture. Their physical appearance and in-game mythology can be considered Norse-based. However, they are also familiar with the cultural features known from the Irish and Scottish. Beer has a unique importance in their culture. Their economy is heavily based on mining and blacksmithing. They have a giant forge carved in the mountains. The Night Elves are another ancient race with mystical features. They have very long and pointy ears and shiny eyes. They have a deep connection with nature and are very familiar with the magic. The Lunar Festival, based on the Chinese New Year, is a significant celebration for them. Chris Metzen, the former senior vice president of story and franchise at Blizzard Entertainment, once said that the elven architecture draws influences from both Nordic and Japanese styles. Pagodas and torii gates around their settings are unmistakable evidence. They also built large domes, characteristic of Byzantine architecture. They also have many sacred trees and beautifully decorated pools. Pandaren, or humanoid pandas, are another ancient race of Azeroth with a deep history, love for nature, and a strong affinity for ale. Here, they present the East Asian cultures. They are monks skilled in the martial arts. They also have a vast collection of cuisine based on Asian cultures, and they herd dragons. And for architecture, the monasteries and palaces with roofs curved at corners and rich ornaments are common in their settings. They have massive walls mimicking the Great Wall of China and Zen gardens. Gongs, bells, and incense around their shrines once again prove the Asian influence. Many scientific studies focused on the fictional culture creation in the world of Warcraft. Some of them praised the attitude of Blizzard Entertainment, an American company, for borrowing foreign cultural concepts from all over the world and blending them. According to these studies, features like Nordic gods, Chinese cuisine, and Egyptian architecture are blended into the lore or story of the game successfully, and those cultural elements encourage players to adapt to the game and become deeply attracted to it. However, another set of studies does not hesitate to criticize the storytelling of the game in terms of creating cultures. Many of them blame Blizzard Entertainment for whitewashing in terms of ethnocultural racial stereotyping. According to them, the company has a Western perspective in creating the races of the Horde and the Alliance factions. They presented the Alliance cultures as Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic, which are often abbreviated as weird, civilized, and good, whereas the Horde cultures were portrayed as savage, cruel, colonized, barbarous, dirty, disorganized, primitive, and evil. The use of distinct architecture for creating the different races of Azeroth must be further researched to understand its role in the fictional world building. Such architectural differentiation not only reinforces cultural identity and lore, but also influences player perception and immersion within the game world. By examining these design choices, scholars can gain deeper insights into how built environments shape narrative depth and factional distinctiveness in virtual settings. This concludes the Video Game Architecture Chapter 8, World Building of World of Warcraft. Thanks for listening. See you in the next episode.